This is my green spare bedroom, which I actually decorated during lockdown in COVID. So what I did was I actually looked around and found what bits and pieces I had to decorate with. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge of all sorts of things. So I thought I'd go through and tell you how I decorated this room. This is a third of one of my spare bedrooms, and actually it's always my last resort bedroom because it's tiny in here. So I don't know how I've managed to get what I have managed to get in here. And often my boys bring back lots of friends for the weekend, and we quite often have boys staying in this room. So I'm not quite sure how they get themselves in here, but it's just literally an overnight bedroom. But it's quite a sweet little room. So I actually decorated all this room myself. So I painted it and I wallpapered it myself. So the cushions on the bed, I did a big cushion and a small cushion. So I've got a cushion with a frilly edge to it, all made out of my own fabric. And then I've actually got a little tiny cushion in front, which I didn't design at all. It was some old John Lewis cushions, which my father had, which I inherited, which again bring in just another dimension and a different look to the bed. The lampshades, which I love, are real original Alice Palmer lampshades. I think before she became enormous. But anyway, I sent her some of my fabric and she had them made and I absolutely loved them. And I love the red rickrack around the top and the bottom. They're so gorgeous. Anyway, the lamp base came from a sort of artisan maker, which I found on Etsy. And this is a lovely red lacquer, which again, I always find lacquered things always add a classic look to your room. During lockdown, there was no way I was going to find a joiner to help put up a picture rail. So the idea which I had was to put trimming on the wall. So I put the green trimming around the wall to create my own picture rail. And this trimming was actually from Samuel and Sons. And then I didn't have enough wallpaper, so I had to use two patterns of wallpaper. So I used one pattern to go down from the ceiling down to the picture rail, and then from the picture rail below I used the other wallpaper, which is actually called London Birds Green. The top wallpaper is called Belgravia Blue. The headboards I took from another room which they were in, and these actually originally got them from eBay, and then I got them recovered. And as you can see, I've used two fabrics. I've used a striped fabric to go down the side of the headboard, and then I've used a front-facing fabric. Again, both of my fabrics. I always really like collecting antique boxes, and I seem to have inherited quite a few as well. And I think stacking them up on top of each other gives a lovely feel and atmosphere in the room. I always have a little jar of headache pills in my spare bedroom in case you might need one the morning after you've spent the night in the Gaisford household. I think a lovely touch is old vintage photos in the vintage frame. So I've got a really sweet photograph of my brother when he was a baby, actually taken by my father, who's an amazing photographer. And then I got another photo of my sister and my brother dressed up as a page boy and a bridesmaid in the 60s. It's so sweet, and it's still in the 60s frame, but I just think it adds a real tone to the room. Adding things like oriental ceramics, little bits and pieces, I just think a few really add some charm to the room, and also just makes your dressing table look a bit more inviting. And I put them into a little wooden tray, again a little oriental wooden tray which contains them, so you've got enough space for your guests to put their things on top of the dressing table, or the chest of drawers in this case. Another thing which I think is really important to add into a spare bedroom is a comfortable chair, or it's a chair just to throw clothes on. But I think it's important to have something. It adds some softness. It adds, again, it makes it more comfortable to live in this room if you have chairs in them. I think to create a layered effect in a bedroom is to add layers onto the bed. So I always have balances on my bed, which I think are really important because they hide the sort of ugly bit of the bed at the bottom and just sort of finishes off the bed. Then I've got a very big, it's like a lovely bedspread, which I actually got from Birdie Fortescue. And then on top of that, I've just placed a blanket at the end just to add a bit more colour and also just to finish off the bed. The chest of drawers is an inherited piece of furniture, and it's the perfect scale for this room. So it's not too big and it's not too small. And it also doubles up as a chest, as a dressing table. The curtains in this room I've made longer and taller because actually the window is not very big in here. So what I've done is I've put the pole up quite high in the room, and I've created the curtains. They're quite long, and I've got a cottage pleat at the top, which gives it a bit more character at the top, and a bit more texture and movement. And then the curtains are really long, and they're a striped fabric as well, which creates the height. And I put the pom-poms down the leading edge. So these curtains they're actually on a French pole, so it has a sort of curve on each side. So it means I can make quite big full curtains, so the whole window looks much bigger than it actually is. I really enjoy creating this room, and I love decorating it. And it was just a fun little room that's there, which is just colourful, and it is a mixture of all sorts. And it just shows you that you don't have to have everything matchy and absolutely pristinely coordinating. You can just use what you've got and put it together. And quite often you can look at things and see them sort of close up, and they don't look like they match or go together. But when you actually put it into the room, it's amazing how much they go together. You'd be very, very surprised. So I hope you enjoyed looking around this green spare bedroom of mine. And if you'd like to see more rooms in my house, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll be showing you some more in the very near future.